are going to watch a video called Why 44111 is better than 4311 builds in Wuthering Waves right now. This is regarding the ecosystem in Wuwa. Right now, typically, I believe the meta opinion is 4311, but we're going to see what Gacha Smack has to say, as he is a very, very good theory crafter, very good guide maker. I respect him a lot, and I want to see what his take is. We're going to watch this right now live on twitch.tv/hex_juice. If you'd like to be a cooler, smarter, and get more maidens, I highly recommend you click the link in my description to come join us sometime. It's very cool, but we're gonna get into it. Subscribe.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video by yours truly. So I've been getting this question a lot in the community, especially when I'm streaming. Hey, Smack, what's the difference between 44111? Is it worth running that, or should I go 43311? I've been getting that question so many times, it's actually insane. And as a free-to-play player, I think I can, provide a good degree of insight on how it's been working for me.
Okay. All right, so I'd like to point out that this opinion is going to be affected by the fact that he is a free-to-play player, meaning what? What it means is that for him, as a free-to-play player, with fewer resources, this is going to be a take based on that and not based on having maximum resources. That is what we're going to base our assumptions on here, because if we take this as an overall meta take, when he's said, for me, free-to-play player, theory crafters and guide makers are almost never free-to-play, and there are very, very good reasons why they are not.
I have been personally rocking 44111 on my Calcharo, on my Havoc Rover, and on my Donjin, and that's because Havoc and Thunder are the two elements in the game. There's another element too. I think it's the Moonlight set. Where you can get 2 4-cost bosses. You can farm 2 4-cost bosses, and they're obviously infinitely. You can always farm it, and they're much more effective, much more quick to do, as opposed to going around the map and scout and scavenge hunting for those goddamn pesky 3-cost elites who don't drop a goddamn thing.
His opinion is based off of the fact that it is more efficient to farm 4-cost echoes. They take less time. You don't have to run around the map if you don't want to, if you don't have the time to do that. And you get 2 bosses so that you can still get the 5-cost bonus, right? Because in this game, if you use 2 of the same echo, you cannot then get the 5-cost bonus. But because those elements do have multiple, or those sets do have multiple 4-costs that could be in the same set, it means that you can run 4111 and it can be more efficient and take less time. Are we currently tracking? YouTube and chat room, we're currently tracking. What we're saying is we're talking about efficiency for those who maybe have less time or who are free to play.
The Thunderbird is a pain in my ass. Him and Flautist, not only do they not drop as much as the other elites do, they also don't drop the stat you want them to drop, which is electro bonus on the electric bird, who often at times keeps giving me all my fusion pieces. I don't even have a fusion DPS, right? Yeah. It's really annoying. So how,
if you would like, I would like to propose a trade deal. I'll take your fusion pieces for my encore. If you want some, literally anything else, I'll give you anything. Money, please. I'm really, really suffering, please.
How has it been working for me? Because I actually said, okay, as a free-to-play player, I don't have a lot of resources. It's quite scarce. It's quite finite.
Right.
I can't just be doing this mid-max shit in the beginning of the game because I don't have a lot of resources. I need to have a set on somebody that's reliable, effective, and can last me a long time. What I've come to realize is if you run the 43311 and you have a dog shit crit value in your substats, you can't roll crit substats, that shit is ineffective and garbage. It is purely a mid-max method that you should be using once the game has been out for quite a bit of time and you've started getting good crit rate substats rolled in. Because what?
Okay. All right. So we're talking about the fact that the game is newer. We haven't necessarily had time to get all of the pieces that we need because the game is newer. We're talking about efficiency. We're talking about time management, and we're talking about resources. I'm just clarifying everything that's being brought up here before the meta freaking spreadsheeters come in and start talking about other stuff. Because what we're talking about is not spreadsheet meta algebra bullshit.
What's gonna happen is you're gonna have these damage bonuses, right? You're a double electro damage bonus on the 2-3 costs, or electro attack percent on the 2-3 costs. But your crit value is 30 over 200. Your crit value is 40 or 50 over 200 or 180. So it doesn't matter if you have that extra damage bonus or that extra attack percent. You're not landing the crits as much as you could be.
Exactly. Because right now the ecosystem is very limited. Right now, even for those who spend money, echo grinding is very limited. It is limited for everyone, but for a free-to-play player who is not max refreshing or whatever, it is hard. For sure. Echo grinding is pain. Getting enough experience for your echoes is pain. If you have to do one less echo and you get pretty decent benefit for now until we have more time and more resources, that's why it matters. Because everybody's getting in on this like, put the spreadsheets, put my Excel. Most people are not having the time to be able to properly farm every single echo until you've run out of the echoes of that type. I've never even been able to do that. I will literally sit and run through echoes for hours and I've never gotten to the end of that. That is a huge amount of time. This is saying you can farm a slightly less perfect set and get a lot of benefit more efficiently. And that's a very simple concept that I'm already seeing chat not understand.
Whereas with the 44111, it's way easier running 2 crit rate pieces or maybe a crit rate crit damage piece, getting the extra crit damage very early on to the point where you don't have to stress as much as you know, about the sub stat crit value. You don't have to stress as much because you got those 2 double crit rate.
Crit rate and crit damage also can only be on your 4 costs as the main stat. So that is a massive benefit in a game where there's a lot of shit you can roll on your substats. You don't have a lot of resources to roll those substats. Having just a fat crit rate and a fat crit damage on your 4 costs is a big benefit early in the game when we have not had time to level all of those echoes, when it's impossible to farm efficiently enough to have leveled all of those echoes. You're not just leveling echoes at complete random right now. You have to pick wisely. You have to be careful. And this is a very okay point to have when the game just came out. This is early game.
And I have tested these builds. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I haven't gotten into the math yet into this game. Just getting off a little side tangent. I haven't gotten in the numbers yet. Why? There's still so much to learn. There's so much to do. I don't want to talk about numbers yet. It's not that time to talk about numbers yet from where I stand. I'll talk about numbers once I have everyone built and now we can get into the mid-max nerdy shit. But for now, how are these 44111 builds performing? They're performing, especially for me as a free-to-play, they're performing very well. In fact, if I'm being honest, the numbers kind of look pretty identical.
So, again, what we are talking about is free-to-play, possibly people who have less time people, and what can be maximally beneficial for those people right now in this part of the game. We are not talking about whales. We're not talking about people who know life the game. We're not talking about content creators. We are talking about free-to-play, early game, echo efficiency. And in that case, this is true.
Now, is that true? Probably not. But I could hardly tell the difference. And I want to show you guys how my builds are looking on these characters that I'm using. And then I have a little showcase with Calcharo against the Tower of Adversity, against that douchebag bird, showing you how he performed with the 44111 build. Good crit value, most importantly, good damage, and I was able to squeeze out a 12-star clear. I think that's important context to provide with regards to the value. The Havoc Rover is also doing good damage. She's ulting for around 34 to 40,000 damage with my Jian Shin attached to her. She's like doing auto attacks for like 4K to 2K in rapid succession. It's good damage that can last for a very long time.
Yes,
honestly, I'm pretty sure you can use these builds until the ends of time if you wanted to, but I know everybody wants to have the best sub stats. However, in the beginning of a game, the launch of a game, you don't have that luxury. You really just don't. You don't have the luxury to be mid-maxing. Also, as I'm sure you guys are probably wondering, Smack is the free-to-play account review coming soon. We want to see what your account looks like. I'll be doing that. I'll be doing that next very soon. All right, just bear with me a little bit. I got a couple more videos I want to talk about. I want to talk about the echo grinding experience and how I was able to boost my account thanks to grinding tacit fields. Like there's a couple more things I want to cover, and then we'll do the full-blown free-to-play account review.
Yes.
Anyways, my Havoc Rover sitting at 90 over 226. That's thanks to the dope. I've eaten the food buff. Take away 22%. And yeah, the food buff gives 22. So 80, 70, 68. She's sitting at 68 if you take away the 22% crit rate food buff I've ate already. 68 over 226, which is actually very solid. If we come over here, I have this at plus 25. I have this at plus 25. She's rocking 1 crit rate and 1 crit damage. And that's because once you get Rover up to, I believe it's probably her last one. Yeah, once you unlock.
But yeah, food buffs also matter in this game. We're talking about efficiency. We're talking about being flexible. We're not talking about Excel, mint picker, spreadsheet, or bullshit. We are talking about efficiency of your time. We are talking about efficiency of your resources. And we are talking about people who just want to get the most damage for the least effort. Anybody arguing about what is like technically, according to the Excel, the best version, y'all are not listening to what he is saying. We are not talking about maximizing damage. And so if y'all are gonna bring out all of this spreadsheet or bullshit about maximal damage, you are literally talking about something entirely separate from what he is talking about. It's not difficult to understand.
The S6, it gets a free 25% crit rate in the Dark Surge state. So from where I stand, if you're gonna do the 4-4-1-1-1 build on her, it's better to just do crit rate here, crit damage here, and then, you know, wait on that S6 and then she'll be looking solid. And like I said, this build, regardless of if the double Havoc bonus is better or Havoc attack percent, it doesn't matter. I guarantee you the damage ain't gonna be that big of a difference. This build is way more easier to build, and you're gonna get some good value out of it for a very long time. And like I said, I'd put my money on it and say the build can last till the ends of time. You don't need the best of the best builds. Now I'll be honest, I got some good sub stats on my builds because what can I say? I'm the free to play emanator. The game blessed me all the time.
Very true.
Look at that. Man, I wish I could have actually.
I've gotten some really lucky rolls as well. It's been crazy because I feel like I have had the worst luck in most games. For a Rover, this is a nice little echo, on God. Is it a nice little echo for spreadsheeters and like for like people who want to min-max and like do crazy meta shit? Absolutely, this is awful. It's just dog shit. How dare it have flat def and flat HP? Disgusting. But for a free-to-play player who has like a life and a career and children and has like things to do, this is fantastic. This is great.
Actually recorded all of this because I was doing it off stream with my boy and I was literally calling these crit rate rolls and crit damage rolls. It was the funniest shit ever. Not getting off topic though.
Okay, but like not to like brag though. Could I just flex upon the chat room and perhaps upon Gacha Smack for just the smallest minute to just do a teensy little flex upon the community? This was the first Dreamless that I ever caught. This is the first Dreamless that I ever fucking leveled. Besties, I cried and threw up and shit my pants. This thing is disgusting. I literally finished the game, caught a Dreamless, and got this in like 10 minutes. It is so cracked.
This is my double 4-cost 1-1-1 build on my Havoc Rover. And she looks solid with it. Calcharo, he's at 60 over 185. He doesn't have the 22% crit rate built in. That's 60. If he if he did, it'd be at 82. What I just came to find out that the only people that are going to have that 22 built in are the people who are already put on the field. So she's not at 76. That's 22 more. He's not at 53. That's 22 more. But these 3 units aren't even on the field right now, so they don't get that buff.
Right.
Calcharo is at 60 over 185 or 186. And here's the thing. First of all, he can get more crit damage on these subs, right? But the thing is, I haven't even built these up yet. Once I build these two to 25, that's another, 3 plus 4, another 7% crit chance.
So this is the crit rate that he's gotten. I don't know what weapon he has. He didn't show. But this is a crit rate he's gotten just with unfully leveled 2 4-cost echoes. Like that's very, very good in this game. This is really hard to achieve. Getting this much crit rate at this point in the game is very good, especially when you're free to play and especially when those 2 echoes are not even fully leveled for the maximum like main stat crit rate he's gotten. Like it's cost to benefit ratio. The cost of people who spreadsheet and min-max of endlessly farming 3-cost echoes for the right substats and for the right main stats, maybe that's worth it to you guys to get that extra, I think it's like 15% or whatever bonus damage from the Havoc bonus or the Elemental bonus, right? For normal human beings who do not want to spend 16 hours a day doing this stuff, who do not want to spend multiple hours every day doing this kind of stuff, absolutely and 100%, this is worth it. That's the crazy thing about it, is if this video is not for you and you are someone who wants to min-max and you are someone who wants to spreadsheet and you are someone who wants to spend several hours a day doing this, this video is not for you. It's not about you. But that does not make him wrong.
Put him pretty damn close to 70% crit chance over 186. And I had a dog water Calcharo build when I was running the 3-3-1-1, because these three, maybe I still, yeah, here we go. Look at this piece right here, bro.
This is devastating because it takes so much time to get an electro damage flautist. It takes so much time to get all of the EXP and all of the tuners. And then you're left with flat def, attack, and HP with some resonance liberation damage. That is why this video is valid. And that is why this video is not incorrect. And that is why 44111 is better for certain players right now. But he's not going to put all those words in the title because that's too many characters, okay? We get a maximum of like 65 characters in a title on YouTube.
That's what I was rocking. And then this one, I already dumped it because I was just like,
Bro, like again, HP, attack, resonance liberation damage, and flat attack, I would cry.
Bro, this piece is so garbage. It was another 3-cost attack percent bird that just rolled like defense, HP defense. So I said, screw this, bro. I'm getting 2 crit rate 4/4s and I'm calling it a day, man. And guess what? It's been doing me wonders. Finally, my Don Jean, I can actually just swap my rover off of her build and slap it on Don Jean if I wanted to. Or because two 4/4s are so fucking easy to build, you can just grind the bosses for double crit rate again, which is what I did. So once I take this up, she'll be good to go and she'll have good crit rate value, man. And Don Jean will be ready to rock and roll sitting at a solid like 60% once I top everything off.
His point is so clear. This is why I never like to talk about meta stuff, because when you're actually talking about normal people who just want to play a video game for fun, so many people in gacha just refuse to see the point, even if the point is abundantly clear. He is giving a specific recommendation to a specific player base for a single player game that doesn't affect you if you don't like that kind of play. Let him talk to other types of players. If someone wants to run this differently because it's easier for them to build, who cares?
Way easier to build, saves way more time. You don't have to stress about getting these goddamn annoying 3-cost echoes, and it'll last you for a very long time. It's good builds to invest in. Most importantly, at the launch of a game. At the launch of a game, your resources are just incredibly scarce. I can't stress that to you enough. And it's built that way to instill that gacha pressure into you to want to spend money on the game.
Right.
So
and this is a great way to not have to deal with that gacha pressure to spend money on the game if you have to spend less resources to level your shit. Imagine that. Imagine that there are ways where you can play less perfectly and makes you want to waste money on gacha games less. Imagine that people don't want to spend hours upon hours trying to get the right main stats on 3-cost echoes when it's much easier to just do the 4-cost echoes and get a crit rate or crit damage stat. Realistically, none of this matters if you're not good enough. It doesn't matter if you have a 4-3-3-3 or whatever, 4-3-3-1-1, 4-4-1-1-1, whatever the fuck it is. It doesn't matter. 1-1-1-1-1. It doesn't matter if you die because you get hit.
Recommend 4-4-1-1-1 right now over the 3-3s, unless you just get god tier rolls on those 3-3 sub stats,
which is unlikely.
Sure, you can run that. But most likely, a lot of people are probably running through the same thing I'm running into, which is trying to get those main stats, and then you get the main stats, and then it's dog shit fucking sub stats. So
which sucks when you're free to play. Holy shit, it sucks so bad when you're free to play.
Your crit value is looking like this right here,
or in general,
which is horrible. So that's my recommendation. Now let's do a little showcase where Calcharo goes up against the bird in the Tower of Adversity, and then we'll wrap this build off. All right, so this is going to be the 4-4-1-1-1 Calcharo sitting at, right now he's sitting at 61 over like 186. And again, he's not even fully built. A lot of the pieces are plus 20, plus 20. Yeah, they're sitting around plus 20 because plus 25 is just very expensive. Right now, we're just trying to keep those 2 birds together.
I mean, he's doing a lot of damage. Like, let's be 100% with each other right now. He's doing more damage than the vast majority of y'all.
And if we can get lucky and get a annoying little one of those, whatever the hell you call those mobs, if we can keep them together as well, great.
My goodness.
I'm using Sanwa with Calcharo because her basic attack deepen does work on his ultimate basic attacks.
He's also doing all that to the Electro Bird as well, which I believe does have some amount of, what's it called? Resist. Yeah, that bird has electro resistance. And he's doing all that with Calcharo with this build. Like, it's about good enough. It's not about perfection. It's not a lightning res. Okay, I lied then. He's still doing a lot of damage is the point.
Because they're not considered resonance liberation. They're considered basic attacks, which is nice. Pretty solid team though. It's a good copium team for you know,
how is he saying that it's the same when he's saying a copium team? Like what he is saying is so clear. It's copium. It is. It's just so how it's good enough. Like, this is insane.
Yinlin holder. Once Yinlin drops, I'm swapping out Sanhua for Yinlin, of course. Okay, right here, we got a whole minute and 15 seconds to get rid of this bird. And this is where you get to really see Calcharo pop off with the 44111 build.
He is clearing this so much faster than I did. I am not free to play. I don't max refresh or anything, but in no way am I free to play. I've not saved my cubes or any of that stuff.
By the way, I love Sanhua. I really do.
She's cool. I like her too.
Notice that quick swap there. I don't even think the bird. Yeah, I think I quick swapped too early. The bird didn't even come down. That's unfortunate.
Dude, he's doing so much
damage. Look at that damage, man. This is 4411 costs at level 60-60.
He's doing so much.
And I'm telling you, if
damage.
you go look at a 43311 Cal, bro, it looks about the same, guys.
I had to do this with just female MC and just Verena because I couldn't figure out Danjin combos. I couldn't do them right. I just figured it out yesterday to do them correctly. I had to just do Verena and Havoc Rover because Havoc Rover by Havoc Rover does so much more damage. And like, I literally did it with like 3 seconds on the clock. It took me hours.
A part of the time crunch. And there we go. That's a 3-star clear with the 44111. So there you have it, man. Nice build, good budget build.
I think that looked great.
To hold you down until we get into the point of the game where we can afford to throw away resources in an effort to get better stats. So there you have it. And Havoc Rover, it's the same concept. In fact, I'll show you the Havoc Rover damage so you don't feel like I'm bluffing, and then we'll wrap up the video. All right, so this should be able to show you how much my Havoc Rover is doing with the 4411 cost while we were going up against this monkey. Here it is. Look at this damage. All right, 4K. There it is. Here's an ult for 34 points.
I'm gonna say that technically speaking, my Havoc Rover does more damage literally on her ultimate. So honestly, this entire argument is completely invalid. Literally.
0.5. Good damage. Another like, dude, like a 30K from that ult too. So yeah, that's the Havoc Rover with the 44111 build. And all I did was get a boosted crit rate from the food I ate. So it doesn't impact the damage numbers you're seeing on the screen at all.
Oh God.
Overall, guys, I think running 44111 is the best way to build your characters that can afford those builds, like who have the fucking elements that can grind 2-4 costs. I think
he's also saying very specifically for, I believe it was Havoc, Moonlit, and it's the Havoc set, it's the energy regen set, and the ones that have 2-4 costs that can even be done. This can't be done with every character, and Electro. Yeah, so like this is only for 3 different like specific kinds of characters. This isn't even for every character. It's saying that if you can do it, it is a more efficient way to build your characters, and Havoc and Electro are some of the most commonly built stuff because everybody loves Calcharo and everybody has access to Havoc Rover because it's the main character. This is a very simple concept.
that's the best method to go for right now at this stage in Wuthering Waves. Who cares about the damage numbers that are being mathed out by the theory crafters right now, which I'm not trying to shade them. They're doing a fantastic job. I wouldn't even stress about that. I'd be stressing about just getting characters built. And that's one of the best ways to do it in the beginning of the game right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Okay, all right. So like he said, it is specifically for people who are not interested in doing min-maxing spreadsheet bullshit. He clarified that on multiple occasions in this video. So I'd love to watch this 10-10 video because if it's a meta video, it's not addressing what he said literally at all. I'm gonna hear bro out on this because I don't think any misinformation has been spread at all, unless we are not talking about the same things.
I've been seeing a lot of people trying to push for the 44111 build, claiming that it is easier to farm, it is easier to obtain in the early game, and you should be doing it. No, you should never be doing it. That is completely wrong. And it's nothing to do with the fact that it's easier to obtain. It has nothing to do with the fact that the subsets are easier to roll. It is just...
All right, so we're clarifying that it is easier to obtain. And it is easier to get the main stats that we need. And so we're just going to leave back the parts that were the important parts of Gacha Smack's video. In the first 16 seconds, we have clarified that we are going to be ignoring the point of Gacha Smack's video entirely, which was about the time and efficiency. And we're going to talk about other things. Let's get into it.
Mathematically purely wrong. And it just comes down to simple calculus. It actually comes down to a pretty simple calculus problem called optimization, which I already talked about in a different video. But here's a little.
But his video was not about optimization. Very clearly, Gacha Smack's video was not about optimization. So we're already talking about a totally different thing.
A little more detailed breakdown on a hopefully a simpler level instead. Now here's a simple graph that kind of explains the pictures. Now I want to make it very clear that this graph is not the final answers. Depending on the characters, depending on your build, your team, your graph could look different. But the general idea is always the same. Starting from the top yellow line, this is your 4-3-3-1-1 with a 5p set bonus. And as your substat get better, you can see your damage keep growing, and that just makes sense. And each one of these lines represent a.
Okay, so no one said that if you do the most optimal build, that it is not going to do more damage. More optimal equal more damage. We all agree if you follow the meta mathematically, absolutely, and 100%, this is true. This is not these are not the people we were talking to.
A different setup. Some of these are 4-4-1-1-1. Some of these are 4-3-3-1-1 with like no set bonus. There will be a legend at the top of the screen right now. And you can see that without any substat, assuming you're only caring about main stats, you're still better off running a 4-3-3-1-1 build. Always. Why? Let's look into the math. The first assumption people make is that your 4-4-1-1-1 will have way better substat than your 4-3-3-1-1 because it is easier to farm. And that's completely.
That's not what he said. What Gacha Smack said was that it is more efficient and less time consuming to get crit rate and crit damage main stats on 4-cost characters for the specific elements in which you can do a 4-4-1-1-1. We said nothing about substats. We said only that it is easier to obtain the main stats that you need because you don't have to run around the map. You just have to wait for them to respawn, and you can go back and forth between the two you need to do. This is about efficiency, this is about resources, and this is about time.
False. That is because your 4-4-1-1-1 is transferable. This 4 here is equivalent to this 4. That means if you got a good 4 cost on your 4-4-1-1-1 setup, you have a good 4 cost for your 4-3-3-1-1 setup. These two pieces are the exact same. There's no difference. The same go with the 2 1 costs at the bottom. If your 1 cost have a god row for your 4-4-1-1-1 build, so will your 1 cost row for the 4-3-3-1-1 because they are the same. They're the share.
Yes. 4 is equal to 4 and 1 is equal to 1.
So the only difference between these two sets are that you're running a 4-1 setup here versus a 3-3 setup here. And this is a massive difference since this gives 60% damage. Comparing these 4 pieces together.
But you didn't say, okay, go ahead, keep going.
You'll see that the difference is that the 4 costs provide you with either 22% crit rate or 44% crit damage, plus the 1 cost that provide you with 18% attack. On the other hand, the 2 free costs each provide you with 30% damage, or I guess you could go 30% attack if you really want to. And a smart man at this point would immediately recognize that there's no way this will ever compete. The first.
And what Gacha Smack said was that this was about efficiency for earlier game players and free-to-play players. No one is arguing that 4-3-3-1-1 is not the better overall damage build. It is. It is the better damage build. What we are saying is that 4-4 is more efficient with your time and resources for the amount of benefit that you get early game with fewer resources with an ecosystem that is very much difficult to level right now to the point that it's needing to be fixed. So this is what happens when we refuse to actually talk about the point that was being made. You're arguing X and Gacha Smack was arguing candy, and you're saying that you're disproving his candy argument with X, but they're completely different conversations.
3% damage main stat is just significantly better than the 4-1 main stat, to the point where even if you have the god row, the best row, the perfect row on your 4-1 piece, it probably won't compete with your 3-3 piece.
Sarah, are you still in here? If you're in here, can you tell me how many times out of 1 it is to get the right element on the right 3's cost versus crit rate or crit damage on a 4 cost? Can you tell me what the odds are on that? I'm very curious. 3 out of 225. And do you know what it is to get crit rate or crit damage on a 4 cost? 1 out of 6. Okay, so it is a 1 out of 6 chance to get the main stat that you need on the 4 cost, which is significantly faster to farm than a 3 out of 225 chance to get the right main stat on a 3 cost. 325 was from 2 accounts rerolling a 2,000 echoes. Oh, okay, so that's like an estimate. Okay. Gotcha. This is like rare. We're talking about efficiency. The whole point of the argument is efficiency and time and resources, and not about algebra. It's about 100 hours.
But why? That is because crit is extremely expensive and extremely inefficient, and it gives very, very little damage. Let's look at why. Assuming your character don't have any stat right now, equipping it with a 30% damage boost just...
That is a crazy crit rate roll, by the way. I think that's a very, very good crit rate roll. 10.5% crit rate is fucking poggers.
Just boosted your damage by 30%. That kind of makes sense. So if you're doing 100 damage per hit, giving it a 30% damage boost will bring it to 130.
Oh, it's a max roll? Thank you for clarifying.
But what about critical strike? If you're running a crit damage main stat for cost, then you get 44% crit damage. But how much damage do you really get from that? Because it is not a 44% damage increase, I'll tell you that. Suppose you get...
This is a difficult argument to deal with because earlier he was talking about how the point was like something about substats, and now we're focusing on main stat stuff because he's saying like there's this assumption that it's going to have better substats, which nobody said. I just feel like this is not in good faith talking about what Gacha Smack said. That is the problem that I'm having.
Get a 44 crit damage increase. What does that really mean? Well, in Wuthering Waves, there's a base 150% critical damage modifier, but let's keep it simple and let's keep it 1-to-1 for now.
GED good enough damage. This is that C's get degrees good enough shit. This is that 3.0, 2.5 GPA type shit. This is not 4.2 GPA, A+++, 100% type fucking damage. We don't want the damage of the fucking valedictorian. We're getting the damage of the bitch that passed, got through high school with the least amount of effort possible. You want to be valedictorian, you play that way, but this does not in any way invalidate what Gacha Smack was saying. What's at the end of this video? I'm sorry, I can't listen to this. Like, it's very frustrating because he's invalidating this argument about 44111 when he's not actually interacting with the argument about it. You can't invalidate an argument that you are not interacting with.
That's how different the map is. That's how overpowered the map is. And so once you start putting into substat, 43311 will win every single time. And if...
Yes, when you're talking about min-maxing and not about efficiency and echo farming. Yes, when we're talking about efficiency, it is not relevant.
Anyone asks why? That's because crit is expensive. You're paying $10 for 1 damage increase, where you could just be paying like $1 for 1 damage increase if you build damage stat instead. For critical, not only you have to build both stats, so it's at least twice as expensive, you don't even see any gain for the most part unless you hit a crit, then your critical damage modifier come into effect. So the actual gain itself, even when you have both stats, is not as high. I tried to make this video as simple as it is to understand for people with a mathematic background.
You did not do that. This has been algebra gobbledygook when we're talking about real life people playing a real life video game. That's it.
But it's definitely kind of hard, especially when you're not familiar with the optimization problem, you know, without understanding like why you should be increasing the size of each length of the box evenly. It is very hard to explain like why you should be putting a stat this way. So I just hope I explained it as best as possible. But yeah, it has nothing to do with your substat. It has nothing to do with it being easy.
Nobody ever said anything about substats. I just want to point that out. Nobody mentioned substats anywhere. They're obviously the same RNG regardless of what build you're going with. That like nobody said that. I don't even know where he's getting that like substat thing.
Easier to be onset. The 4-3-1-1 setup is simply better regardless of everything. And that's the 2 most common mistake that I see people are going around saying, oh, 4-1 is better.
Gacha Smack absolutely talked about substats, but he did not say anything about the substats being better if you go 4-1-1-1.
Because the substat is going to be better to roll or it's easier to farm for onset. No, as long as your free cost has the right element damage on it,
which is very low odds, significantly lower odds than your 4 cost having the correct element and the correct main stat.
So I would appreciate if you guys can just like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly share the video to everyone who is kind of being misled by one of the most common mathematic error right there. And if I'm wrong, then I'm happy to be proven wrong, but someone would have to provide me with, you know, the same thing I did. Basically, a mathematic calculus sheet. And there are certain cases where 44111 could be better, but it is extremely rare. It is extremely hard to achieve. For 99.5% of the cases, 43311 should be better. So, yeah. Go happy hunting, Echoes, I guess. Subscribe. Bye.
This is exactly what I predicted. Before I watched this video, I told y'all that this was going to be a meta math argument that does not engage with what Gacha Smack said. Gacha Smack did not say that 44111 was objectively better. What he did say was that it is more efficient for those who are early game, free to play, and who don't have time. All of this spreadsheeter bullshit, he's absolutely right. And I think Gacha Smack 100% would agree with everything he said in this video. But it does not disprove, dismantle, or invalidate anything that Gacha Smack said, because he did not interact with his argument. This is that puppies versus kittens shit that people do, where you say, I think kittens are really cute and fluffy, and I like to cuddle with them. And somebody says, so you hate dogs, you hate puppies, and you think they should be punished for their crimes. No, Gacha Smack said it is better for specific players on specific characters in a specific place to do this in this specific part of the game. Completely different arguments. Casual gaming forever. We're talking about real human beings. We're talking about a video game. Those of you who are going and being like shitty about this, it's so fucking weird. We're talking about that C's get degrees type, good enough type shit, okay? We're not talking about valedictorian 4.5 GPA type damage at week 2 of the game being out. Week 3 now, I think. We're getting into week 3. It is important to value getting that 43311. However, at this point in the game, it is fine to settle if you are not someone who is min-maxing. That is a very, very simple concept. That is what I have to say. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you, I guess, what do you think? I don't know what to say. I think that they're both right in what they're saying, but acting like 1010's video is in any way an invalidation of Gacha Smack is absurd. So that's all we got. We're gonna go play some video games. You guys have a good night. Like, comment, subscribe, come visit us on Twitch. Bye-bye.